Hi, thanks for coming along and helping out today. We're going to remove a black oak from the middle of the deck and try to save as much of it as we can for some of our woodworking projects.
Hi, and welcome to Yeti at Large. This is a channel focused on making the most out of what you have, no matter where you're at. Thanks for tuning in and helping out.
This is the tree that we're looking at removing. It's not large, but it's just big enough that it does represent some significant safety hazards. The most of which being that the tree continues to lean from when we built this deck, and now it's coming to the point where it's threatening the house. So we've got to bring it down. You can tell it's just large enough that it does represent a safety issue. For scale, I'll put my hand here. And we do want to preserve this trunk to the maximum length that we can. One of the things that we're keeping in mind is that this tree, we don't want to gaff it with the climbing spikes and damage the live edge. Now, several species of trees, you don't want to come after them with climbing spikes anyway. If you're trying to keep them, because of the endodermis, you can kill it. And as you can see, these are tree climbing spikes, not utility pole spikes. But the damage that this gaff is able to do to a live edge on the tree could ruin the woodworking project. Other than that, it's got this very pronounced knock right here, about 6.5, 7 feet up off the ground. And any of those 3 branches aren't large enough to support my weight safely. So that'd be the limit of how far we would climb on this. We're going to fast forward through a lot of these sections. And again, nothing I'm sharing with you today constitutes instruction, training, or advice. I'm just giving you one example of how we go about some of the projects at home. A couple of the little things that I do is I will always practice a cut before I start the saw with my feet planted to ensure I'm in a safe location to reach and stretch and twist. I always trim all of the small branches off of these trees when I'm working on them, because the worst injuries I've had to date are getting jabbed and cut by these branches as they move around you.
I'm going to hand it to you, cut in first.
Okay.
Clear?
Clear. We employ a two-way communication strategy. Anybody can yell stop at any time, and we communicate back and forth. Our primary interest is safety. Secondary is preserving the property.
Wow.
And the third interest is saving the wood for projects. I hate being on ladders on the roof, so if I have to do it, I put good plywood footing underneath it to hold the ladder still. And we're doing our safety message and talking about what the game plan is. One of the things that I don't like about the camera is it will compress distances and spaces and make things look slightly unsafe that aren't necessarily as dangerous as they look on camera. This is an awkward removal because the tree isn't strong enough to support my weight to climb it. We're trying to preserve some of these lengths for woodworking projects, and it's in a hard enough lean that we can't reach everything as well as we would like. One of the important things we do is clear our workspace frequently, and I shut the saw off often.
Beautiful.
So as we start to get into some of the larger chunks we're trying to preserve, we come up with a really good game plan. We have protective wood that we put down to save the roof or the gutters or the decking. And you can hear the saw is slowed way down. And my sister just yelled a hard stop right there, and I didn't quite hear her, but because I was moving so slow,
Wow.
it increases the safety.
I don't think it smells that much as the dead ones. Like
Yeah,
really
when it's
smells.
dried, it does. Right now, it kind of smells like mustard
Yeah.
a little bit. But look at how, see why we want to save this beauty? Okay, so we got a little bit of rain coming in, sprinkles. And I'm not afraid of a little water and working out in the water, but the issue is safety, traction, and working on ladders and whatnot. Things get real slick and real dangerous real fast. We're going to take a little lunch break and see if the sprinkles go away. And I wanted to show you one of the things that we rigged up for safety, and that's this basic leash. I have a lanyard. I always dress my rope with a figure 8 so it never pulls through, and a couple of double carabiners to leash to that. And you're going to get water drops on the lens, but see how that rope goes up and over the knock and then to that side there. The next cut we're going to make is going to be below that. And yeah, that branch will swing, and it's not that it's the heaviest branch, it's just that it's going to get a little squirrely. But the tree will hold its weight and allow us to bring that down safely where we can't reach with ladders or climbing gear. So we're going to have a little chicken tortilla soup, and we'll see you after the break.
Rolling.
All right, so we've discussed the 3 different ways we think this can move. We have our escape route set up. Anyone can yell stop at any time. And if I can't hear you, it's either this or this. If you only have one hand, I'll shut down immediately. We'll figure it out. This isn't that big or that dangerous of a cut, but it's just big enough it can hurt us and it can damage the roof, the gutters, and we don't want any of that. So safety first. Just to refresh, I'm going to cut a notch right here to encourage it to lay down this way because we want it to just swing out and hang on our safety rope.
Oh, I might have been in the camera. Woohoo!
Serious?
Yep.
Happy.
Always have a safety plan and an escape route. This one really upset me. We had wood covering that deck and we were trying to launch it over the deck, and it hit that wood and still broke a chunk of the deck.
The wood was there, it just didn't take it.
We were able to replace this piece of wood with a little glue and a couple of finish nails. Just so frustrating.
The 20 footers.
Now that one sounded bad, but it did and went
That was cool.
right where we wanted. Here I'm slowing way down using the smaller saw to get a little finer of a cut and have a little more predictability. This black walnut, boy, it just lets go in the blink of an eye. So here we are with our last chunk we're going to try to save of any length. And it landed on the plywood exactly like we wanted. At this point, I don't have anything left to tie onto or to rig the other pieces for safety. So we're going to bring it down in 16-inch sections. What I like to do is I've scribed my lines. I'm going to mark them good with the saw and then cut them on the way back down. And again, everything we're doing is about safety, so you can see how I'm taking my time and bringing them down one piece at a time. This saw I have is very light. It can be handled with one hand. It makes it a good climbing saw. There we go. 5 fingers. So here's where we're going to leave it for the winter. We've removed all of the weight that could cause damage, and we've still got to remove this trunk, but that's going to be a whole nother project. We're unsure about where on the tree we want to cut it because we've got about 3.5 feet below grade and then obviously another 8 to 9 feet above grade. So we've got 2 pieces of wood here. And when we do find where we're going to cut it, we want to create a teepee and borrow some of Pythagoras' math and hoist it out of there without hurting anything else. There's one little ding in the deck where the piece came down. And here's another little one. But when we're done with this tree, we're going to pull all the decking up. We're going to resize it, respace it, flip it, refinish it. And that will be part 2 of this project for the black walnut. Oh, and this was fully protected under a piece of plywood and it still broke because you can see the overhang. But hey, we got 10 fingers and 10 toes as we finish up. We've raked up everything in the yard, and we got the last of the twigs that are coming down, and we're going to put away the plywood we used to protect it. So thank you for joining us here at the cabin on today's project. Got a lot of work done. We've got part 2 coming this spring. We really hope you're around for that. We'll let you know ahead of time. In the meantime, I'm going to finish this video with a shot of the creek. You're going to see why we love this place so much. Get out of here. You don't do it. Get out of here. You don't do anything. You're worse than a foreman. Go.
You can even do a quick blow.